Hey guys, thanks for joining us. We'll give them a minute or so, let some people click on and get this shared out to the pages. Tim, Kim, Josh, Alan. I can do that in the beginning.
Yep.
Call everybody's name out.
JD.
Jason. The Truth. Robert Carter, The Truth. How are you, man? Tim's there.
Jake, Tyson on
Tim,
there.
you didn't answer my text message. Oh, there you did. My bad. Oh, yeah. Hey, don't forget about that.
Yep. Now people will be saying our Big Ten schedule is not tough enough.
I guess we can just go ahead and get started.
Let's do it.
Jake, you got her farmed out for us? 'Cause we're going to roll.
Jake, are you diving on loose balls again tonight? Getting your butt beat by anyone? Need to tilt it. There
Like that.
you go. That thins us out. Makes us a little thinner.
I need all the help I can get there, man.
Thin us out.
All right, Jake, I'm going to assume you got her farmed out there. He didn't crack his head open tonight.
That's good.
He's getting there. He's getting us farmed out.
All right.
That's what we're waiting on, folks. Just a couple minutes. Thanks a lot for joining us. We appreciate everybody, of course. Ooh, that sounds a lot louder, doesn't it?
Sounds a lot better.
A lot better. Get the microphone up.
Yep. Don't forget, it's a late one. You get these people to bed.
I know. We're going to be quick. I think Jake's about got us there. Jake, let me know when we're set.
Oh, that's better. They turned the music up for us. Thank you. It's good.
Hey, let us know if the music's too loud, because we'll go over there and tell them to turn that
Crack
down.
some skulls up in here.
Perfect. Jake, I'm going to assume you got us there, man. We're going to go ahead and roll with
Let's
it.
do it.
Welcome to After the Game with Todd Leary, coming to you live from Yogi's Bar and Grill here in Bloomington, Indiana. Tonight, Indiana takes on Louisiana Tech, a game we talked about earlier. This should be a stern test for Indiana. It was not that in the first half, but this was a tale of two halves, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it wasn't a test in the first half other than Indiana just played great. I mean, they shot the ball really well. The offense just looked crisp as can be. They were taking care of the basketball. 6 turnovers and a half versus this team is not terrible with the pace of play. I mean, Indiana puts up 52 points. You'll live with 6 turnovers if you're able to have that kind of efficiency. So, the first half was very easily, I think, the best half Indiana's played all year long. And, I'm pretty sure that the coaching staff would be pretty pleased with the way that half went. Beginning of the second half, I think there's definitely a different story.
Hey, Josh. Yeah, they shot the ball extraordinarily efficiently in the first half. I think they ended up 65% in the first half on field goals shooting percentage, which is remarkable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But it's also, that's a high number that's not normal, so that's going to drop. And it did, but it dropped a lot more than I thought it would in the second half, and the turnovers went way up in the second half.
Yeah, Indiana, like I said, took care of the basketball great in the first half, and the second half really was a lot different. That start of that second half really looked like a team that felt like they had a 16-point lead, and they just came out and were kind of stagnant, and the offense wasn't crisp, the cuts weren't the same, and they definitely weren't pushing the ball the way that they were. It sounds crazy for me to say they can lessen their turnovers by pushing the ball, but all of their turnovers were post feeds and trying to throw it inside, and the shot clock running down, and just the offense not being efficient and not being crisp, and not good screens. And there was just a lot in that beginning of that second half that it wasn't good, and you can tell that when you still have a 15, 16-point lead and Archie Miller takes a timeout 3 minutes into the second half. I mean, that was all just because he didn't like the effort that was on the floor, and he didn't like the sharpness that was on the floor.
Alan, talking about what we talked about on the show today, said before we get started, in 2021, he'll take a freshman, Trace Jackson Davis, and a top 100. If Trace Jackson Davis is still here, that's the key. But we'll see about that. But we'll get back to that on the show tomorrow. But thanks, Alan. We appreciate you. Kimberly's listening to us from Iowa. Awesome. Hope you're having a great time. Thanks for everybody for joining us.
Iowa.
What's wrong with Iowa?
I love Iowa. Just love the way Fish says it.
Is that how you say
Iowa.
it? Obviously, tonight we cannot go much further without talking about Trace Jackson Davis. The dude is this the fourth double-double he's had?
Yeah, I don't know how many he's had,
4.
but this one is the most impressive one. I mean, he just tonight, you take 9 shots and get 21 points and 11 rebounds. I mean, how do you ask for more than that from a freshman?
And he's getting to the free throw line, but more importantly, he's hitting his free throws. I mean, it doesn't do you any good if you're getting there and you're not hitting them. And he's had nights where that's 2 nights now where he's hit double-digit in free throws. You don't see that many times from anybody getting to the line that often, but to do it that frequently, this early, that's a good sign of things to come for him.
It is, and I'll tell you what is fun to watch and fun to keep track of is they're not like overly feeding him the ball. I mean, he's not getting a ridiculous amount of touches on the offensive end. I mean, he's getting a lot of them from offensive rebounds and tonight, let's see, I don't have it broken down by offensive rebounds, but I know in the first half alone, let's see, where did I have him on here? Trace Jackson Davis. Yeah, he only had 1 offensive rebound in the first half, but he just puts his hand on the ball a lot, and he is always constantly moving, and they always have to keep track of him. And, he does things that freshmen generally don't do, and he's got a motor that just keeps on going, and it's not like a high riser like Justin Smith, but he's just he's almost like a Karl Malone-ish type athletic, where it's just physical and big and strong going to the basket.
Matthew says, nice game against a tough team tonight. He likes games where they have to stay mentally tough. And Trace Jackson Davis, wow, they had to get mentally tough because it was coming easy in the first half. And sometimes when things come that easy, it can lull you into a false sense of security. And Louisiana Tech didn't quit. They kept coming in that second half. We heard about all the turnovers that they forced in the first half. Indiana did a great job with only 6 turnovers. Caught up to them in the second half a little bit.
Yeah, I did, and that's what this team does. They got right to their average. Indiana finishes with 18 turnovers. They only had 6 in the first half. So like we said, they had a much better first half than second and when it comes to taking care of the basketball. But look, on paper, Louisiana Tech doesn't look like a great win. And I know people are still going to look at this and say how easy the schedule is at 6-0 right now. But this was a good basketball team. And this was a team that came in here very confident. This is a team that came in here, I think, kind of expecting to give Indiana a really good game. And Indiana punched them in the mouth right to start the game. And they took all of that away. I would have hated to have seen what this ball game would have been like if Indiana hadn't been hot to start the game out. And look, Indiana took advantage of it. I'm not saying they were lucky. The first 3 possessions of the game, Indiana drives down and gets wide open layups on it, and that's for pushing the basketball. I don't think I truly think Louisiana Tech probably thought Indiana would try to slow it down a little bit, and it was just the opposite. They ran it down their throat and got 3 easy buckets to start the game. And really, Indiana, like I said, punched them in the mouth and got that early lead, and it just kind of hung there most of the time. And Indiana had a 23-point lead in the first half, and it got down, I think, to 8 or 9, late in that second half. So I'm glad they were able to build up that lead because I'd have hated to see what happened if they didn't.
Yeah, that's something that they have to manage as the competition will get tougher, because if you're going to give that lead away, a better team is going to take more advantage of that. But
yeah, I mean, that you can't say they were lucky because Indiana played great in the first half. Now,
were they trying to send a message? Because we heard all this talk about how good they defensively this team was going to be, how much they were going to pressure them, and Indiana, it's like they came out and wanted to send a message.
Well, they were ready to play. I mean, I think the coaching staff had this team aware that Louisiana Tech was very capable of coming in here and scoring a lot of points and putting them in some tough situations and turning the ball over. And when they turned it over, you could tell Louisiana Tech wanted to go down and score immediately. And there was a few things that went on in the ball game that was just Indiana, kind of overpowering them a little bit. And Indiana made some big shots. Devontae Green didn't start, but as soon as he came in, he was the microwave right off the bat. He shot the first 7 seconds he was in the ball game and knocked down a big shot right away. So. Devontae Green was a big part of everything that happened in the first half, and his scoring was really kind of what came off the bench and lit them on fire and got them that big lead in the first half.
Tim says Archie's ticked off in the second half of the play. I'm sure he should be. He'll have plenty to talk about after they go back and look at the film. Josh says not bad. Three-point shooting still a major concern. It is, but that's something I don't know how good I expected them to be early in the season because they're using so many different combinations out there. But Devontae looked good early. He looked comfortable shooting.
Devontae and Al, both are guys who are very capable and I think they're comfortable shooting the three-pointer out there. And I think they should be the guys who probably, when Fennessy's healthy and back in the lineup, he's the guy that I would also add him into that group of guys that I expect to take the majority of the three-pointers. But
what about Race Thompson?
He's 1 for 1 tonight. You gotta love his confidence in himself. Obviously, he's not a guy that takes bad shots, and if the coaching staff had warned him or told him that he wasn't supposed to be taking those shots, he wouldn't be. But obviously, they're not saying that. And he stepped up very confidently tonight and knocked it down. So they only made 6. They made all 6 of their three-pointers in the first half, none in the second half. And he was a part of that.
Tim pointed out that they only scored in the first half. Indiana had 52 points, a very efficient and effective first half. That second half, combined with a lower shooting percentage, a lot more turnovers, they only scored 33 points and a lot less points. That's 20 points less, man. That's a big drop off.
The 52 is the big deal, though.
It's kind of a higher ceiling.
Right? Yeah. Indiana. A 40-point half is going to be a big half for them. They're not going to average 80 points in the Big Ten, and so this was a high possession basketball game in which you had teams turning it over, going back and forth. And quite frankly, Louisiana Tech didn't take care of the ball in the first half, and that led to a lot of Indiana opportunities to go down and score pretty quickly and pretty easily. And like I said, the first 3 baskets for Indiana were literally drive down the I bet the shot clock never got under 24. They were easily within 6 seconds of just throwing it inbounds and driving it straight down the middle of the lane and laying it in. So you're going to score pretty quickly when you're able to do that.
Johnny G's on. Johnny ball game.
Get to bed, Johnny. The railroad runs early, brother.
Josh is worried. He said Trace Jackson Davis he was for sure that he'd be a 2-year guy. Now he's a little worried. I'm not sure that. I don't think that anything's going to take Trace Jackson out of 2. I think he's going to be at Indiana for 2 years, but that's nothing we can speculate this early. But I don't see him leaving early, even though I agree with you, Josh. He's looking great. He's looking damn good.
Yeah, he does, and he's a 2-year guy for sure. I think he's a 3-year guy, and we'll just see. Hey, you know what? If we get him to average 21 and 11 all year, I'll let him leave after a year. I'll take the result of that.
Al Durham, another good night for him. Most of the time, he did end up with 5 turnovers, but he handled the ball a lot. They were really active in the first half. Defensively, they were very active. Offensively, very active.
Yep.
And on the move. It was kind of like 2 games ago when they had that game where they really came out and played like their hair was on fire.
Yeah, and Al is, he's kind of the guy right now that, you can kind of base how Indiana's playing off of how he is and what he's doing. His pace of play kind of dictates what's going on and what where Indiana goes, whether they push it or whether they kind of slow it down. And even though I think Devontae is the human scoring machine when he walks in the game, I really feel like Al's the guy who's controlling the pace of everything right now. And I love his poise and the way he is. He's so confident out on the floor, and he's kind of the general out there, and he's the guy, getting people in the right positions. And he had 5 turnovers tonight. That's definitely a negative and out of character for him. But, when you fill the stat sheet like he did, he had 18 points on 6 of 10 shooting. He had 4 rebounds and 4 assists. Nothing's going to make up for 5 turnovers, but that's a pretty full stat sheet for a guard and a guy who's playing, who's kind of your leader and the general out on the court right now. And I think Al's just had a fantastic beginning to his junior year.
Kelly's on. Thanks, Kelly, for joining us. Tim, Pete, hey, brother, my friend of mine, one of my best friends from college. Richard says happy birthday belated to you.
Thank you.
The Todd father. One aspect he liked was Brunk knew where to be against the zone, whether it was a 3-2 or a 2-2.
They'd have had him against Syracuse. I know Evan Martin would have loved to have had him against Syracuse a few years ago.
Back in 2000.
Yeah. They would have won that game if they'd have just had somebody to shoot that shot right there.
Yeah, Joey's a guy, I don't want to say it's quiet, but He's just in there doing his
He's
job
your workhorse.
and getting done. What did he end up with tonight? I don't have the stats pulled up, but
yeah, he ended up with 12 points. I mean, he was 5 of 10 shooting. He made both of his free throws, and he had 8 rebounds and 4 assists.
What more could you ask for? That's a great stat line.
12 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, that's a heck of a night out of Joey Brunk.
And that's a bring your lunchbox to work kind of a dude, just knocking down, setting bricks, not shooting bricks, but stacking bricks on top of another, just working.
And he was pounding too. I mean, they had the guys they had inside might not have been overly tall. They were probably 6'7" or 8", but they were thick. And I don't think there was ever a time when it looked like we got out muscled on the inside, both by Brunk or Trace Jackson-Davis. So, very happy with what the interior guys are looking like. I think the guards did a great job. And there was a 10-minute period in that second half that you just can't have. I mean, everyone I thought played bad during that period, but overall, I mean, you've got to look at this ball game. People won't ever understand it. They'll never probably believe that we're being serious in that and saying, like, this is a basketball team that could have beat Indiana tonight, and Indiana just played well enough to win.
And if you don't believe me, look how well Indiana played that first half. They shot 60%. They were on fire, but yet this game ends up at one point being single digits because Louisiana Tech did not quit.
Yep.
They kept doing what they do. Indiana took them out of their game in the first half, it seems like.
For sure.
But then they kept punching at it, started getting some turnovers from Indiana. They hit shots. They shot the ball well on the night. They ended up shooting 49% overall, Louisiana Tech. And then from three, they shot 40%. That's much too high of a number to give up from three-point shooting. There was a lot of times I saw guys go out on the perimeter and then turn to switch or whatever and leave the guy alone, and he just knocked it down.
Yeah, I mean, this was a team that they had, 3 or 4 different guys that were not afraid to step back and shoot the basketball from the three-point line at any time. And, Indiana just had a couple of lulls and a couple of times when they didn't put their hands up and have the right pressure on and the right rotations. And they gave up a couple of easy ones. And like you said, those three-pointers bring you back in a ball game real quick. And, especially the way that second half started. And believe me, it's partly Indiana's credit, but Louisiana Tech didn't start the second half out on fire either. And if they had, we might have been looking at a much different ball game. But, overall, thank goodness. I keep acting like it was just Indiana kind of lucky and maybe Louisiana Tech not playing that great. But you got to credit Indiana for that. This was a game they very easily could have come out and not been hyped up and not shot the ball well and lost this ball game. Louisiana Tech is a good enough team to win this ball game, and Indiana just took it away from them.
And I talked about that. We did in the pregame. We've seen it happen already. We've seen Evansville beat Kentucky #1. We saw Louisville last night struggle a little bit. Today, Michigan State goes down. Wisconsin goes down. And to teams that are not as good as they are. So, trust me, when you don't play at your top level in college basketball, man, you better look out.
Yeah, the #1 team in the country out in Maui. When the season started, Michigan State, the #1 team in the country. I mean, you go out to Maui and you lose the first game of the year. Or the first game of that tournament, and believe me, you don't want to play in that loser's bracket the whole time you're out there.
What's that like?
I don't know. Luckily, we didn't lose in it, but I can tell you, it would not be a lot of fun playing in that loser's bracket, and they surely didn't intend on being there. But look, Virginia Tech played well. Virginia Tech was a tough team, and they weren't intimidated at all. And Michigan State just, I think their ranking was probably a little higher than. We even talked about it before the season started. You don't see Tom Izzo teams ranked #1 very often. I think that was actually the first time they've ever started the season out ranked #1. They're always much better in March, and believe me, this team will be a tough, formidable opponent. That'll be a tough place to go play for everybody in the Big Ten, and they'll be good by the time February, March comes around.
Devontae Green, 26 minutes played tonight. He had 16 points on 6 of 11 shooting, 3 of 5 behind the arc. He only got to the free throw line once and hit one of 2. But a good game for Devontae as he continues to come back, get his sea legs, because he didn't start the game, didn't start the second half. But like Don Fisher on the show today said, I don't care who starts, it's who finishes, which makes some sense. And especially, I guess, with Devontae, as they try to get his legs back, they would rather have him in at the end of the half, at the end of the game, rather than expending that energy in the beginning.
Yeah, like I've said it all the time. I truly don't care who starts, but he is legit the microwave when he comes in. He is putting that right. I'm telling you, 7 seconds into the game being in there, he jacked a shot up and made it. And man, nothing makes your confidence in your legs feel better than stepping right in and making a shot right away. He just looks insanely confident. Like he's a guy, as a shooter, he always has such good balance, and he can shoot He doesn't have to have his legs completely underneath him. He's always ready to put the ball up, and he's a scoring machine. So, I think he's finally in his element, not playing point guard, being in that 2-3 guard position where, maybe a 2-guard rotation or a 3-guard rotation. He could be any of those off-guard places and just put the ball up and be expected to score, and he's much more comfortable in this position.
Kelly said they worked hard. A win's a win tonight. The effort was definitely there in the first half. And I'm not saying the effort wasn't there in the second half, but things just weren't. And again, you can't expect it to maintain that high of a level, but it dropped further than back to normal. It kind of dropped down before it came back. Was it just feeling your britches because you had such a big lead, or just Texas, or just Louisiana Tech?
It's law of averages is a part of it. I mean, you're not going to expect Indiana to come out and average 52 points per half. A big part of it is just the law of averages are catching up with you. But the coaching staff's not going to accept that. I mean, they're going to say, hey, we played great in the first half. Let's have just our typical half here in the second half, and they'll end up shooting 55-60% for the ball game, and that's probably what was expected. That's for sure what was expected. You could tell that by the timeout 3 minutes into the second half, and I don't think the team came out feeling like we're going to win this game. We're up by 16 at halftime. We don't have to play that hard in the second half. That's not a thing, and that really doesn't ever happen. I would say maybe Louisiana Tech took a little bit of a butt chewing at halftime and came out trying to make things a little bit more difficult, and they played more of their style. And Indiana had 6 turnovers in the first half and 12 in the second half. So that was more the pace that I think Louisiana Tech was looking for.
Kelly asked how time with Don was today. He was great as always. The fish is always wonderful. Roger points out once again free throw shooting was a big difference. Yeah, when you get to the line that many times and you hit that many, that's going to be a hell of a difference. If you can do that a lot, Archie's talked about this team has to do that, and they've done it a couple times here in this early season. 6-0 now in the 6 games. Out of 2 or 3, they've been in double digits, and that's something that they made a point of emphasis, and they're cashing in on that.
Yeah, it makes the game so much easier when you're able to, 1, get to the free throw line, and 2, score a bunch of points from there and capitalize on it and make those free throws. And it puts such a strain on the other team. I mean, when you are able to drive the basketball and get the other team in foul trouble, yes, the points on your end are great, but putting them in that position is really the secondary factor in that. That's a big factor a lot of times. And when you can get a guy to go to the bench, Indiana had 2 fouls on one of their starters, pretty early in the game, and you could see his frustration having to go to the bench. And that's just a big advantage when you're able to do that, especially he was one of their 3 leading scorers, and when you're able to take a guy like that off the floor, obviously it helps your chances.
Mark said Devontae had some turnovers where he tried to force some things tonight. I think he had 3. Last I saw, he had 3 turnovers.
Yeah, I think everybody you could fit in that category
and
a little bit tonight.
That's not a bad number for as much as he had the ball in his hands. I mean, that's top end. I don't think he ended up with 4.
Yeah,
that's probably 1 too many. I think. You prefer 0,
but he forced it a few times tonight. So did Al. I mean, I really thought Al forced it a few times tonight. So That's part of what's going on. That may be a little bit of the factor of the first half. They were so successful at driving in and getting some easy baskets, and maybe they got a little bit overly confident with that. Devontae is one of those players though that he feels like his quickness and ball handling ability are he's able to get himself into and out of any situation, and sometimes you bite it off a little more than you can chew, and I'll take him trying a little bit too hard on some of those for right now. This time of year, in a game like this, when it's a high possession ball game, you can live with that, I guess. 18's too many. This should have been a 12 or 13 turnover ball game for them, and I think everybody had been pretty comfortable with that had that been the case.
Yeah, Alan asked how many minutes did Jerome Hunter play tonight. He played 9 minutes, 3 points, but missed both of his shots. Both of them were 3-point shots. Got to the free throw line a couple times. He had 3 out of 4. The funny thing is, though, he outscored Justin Smith, who played 32 minutes in this game, had 3 points, was 1 of 6, 0 of 2 from behind the 3-point line, 1 of 3 at the free throw line. He had 3 rebounds. Maybe I missed something, but what the hell was Justin Smith doing tonight?
Yeah, I mean, if you maybe questioned anyone's readiness to play in this ball game, I think it would have been him. I didn't see him as active as normal, and it's not just the stat line. Because believe me, I'm one of those people that I watch the game a lot different than just what the stats show And I watched Justin Smith a lot tonight, and he didn't quite have the energy that he normally has and that he normally brings to this Indiana team. So I don't know what it is with him. That's one of the things about college basketball. I mean, you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-old kids. He may have had a bad day today. He may have not slept well. He may have had a headache. He may have not felt well. I mean, there's just a million different things that kind of – his girlfriend and him might have got a fight. Who knows? I mean, there's just a million
When other guys
things.
are having great games, like Trace Jackson was having a great game, Devontae was when he was in there out early on. When those other guys are really feeling it, sometimes players just got to step back?
No, they shouldn't. It should be the opposit.
But do they? But do you see that?
Yeah, if they did, I don't understand how that would be a thing and how that would make any sense. I mean, that's one of those, you want to, if Trace Jackson Davis is grabbing a bunch of rebounds, the next rebound that comes up, I'm almost going to block him out. And I'm almost going to prove I'm going to go get that rebound, and especially if you've got the athletic ability of Justin Smith. I mean, that's a guy who, if he makes it to the next level, and that next level being the NBA, he's going to do it as a rebounder. He's not going to do it as a scorer. And for him to finish a ball game at this level against a team who didn't have a bunch of big, huge guys on the other team, for him to finish a game like this with 3 rebounds is it's unacceptable. I mean, that's not what they need out of him, and that's not when Indiana's playing at its best.
Tim wants to know, did you see the Louisiana Tech player foul out and then go shake Archie's hand on the way to the bench? He said, never seen that before. I did not see that, but that's pretty cool, I guess. I'm surprised he didn't take a selfie.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I did do, and I enjoy this, is when they play that video before the game starts, which is chilling. I mean, it's an awesome video, and when they've got the music blaring in there, it's an awesome scene. I love watching the other team, after they've already been introduced, just sit over there and they try to pretend like they're looking at the huddle, but they're all kind of looking up at the screen. They're all kind of bouncing to the music, and even the managers and 2 of the assistant coaches in this game tonight completely turned around, not paying attention to the huddle and watching the entire video going on over there. And it's a long video, and it's an awesome video, and that always is kind of a warm feeling for me to sit there and watch teams. That's when they're treating this game as one of their bigger games of the season. Outside of their conference play, this is easily the biggest game for them of the year.
Well, man, Pete says a win's a win. Learn and build. Go Hoosiers. Nice post-game show, guys. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Oh, man, he's a good buddy of mine from college. Richard, how well do you think IU did with recognition, changing on defenses from zone to man? Seems like we were decently prepared to be able to change the way we played for each.
Yeah, I mean, we said it earlier with Joey Brunk being able to, maneuver inside. Not only did he make a couple of those little floaters in there, he made a nice inside pass with big man to big man. You love seeing that high-low post of 2 big guys in there, and Joey made a great pass into Trace Jackson Davis for a layup. And they got out of that zone in a hurry. Once Indiana, they scored on it 3 times in a row. And you're right. Like I'm glad that you brought that point up, because that is preparation. That is exactly what that is. Indiana knew that they would change defenses, knew that they would try to go to that. The pressure didn't affect Indiana's turnovers was not because they were sped up by Louisiana Tech. They were mostly half-court turnovers and dribbling into positions they shouldn't have been in and trying to squeeze passes in, like Tom Brady and getting into those tight situations and putting guys in tough positions when they caught the ball. And they were half-court turnovers. They weren't sped up and down the court by Louisiana Tech's pressure or anything like that.
What do you think about the perimeter defense? I mentioned earlier there was a couple of times I noticed in switches or whatever, when the switch was made, the other defender just didn't seem to lock in on the guy, and he would just pop. I saw it happen a couple times. He said, heck, he just jumped up and popped.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. The hardest thing to do, I mean, a good offensive player is going to beat a good defensive player most of the time. It's a matter of whether he makes the shot or not. And it's you put the best offensive player on a team versus the other team's best defensive player, and if he wants to get a shot off, he's going to get it off. And they made some shots with the hand in their face tonight. They also made some open looks that Indiana didn't rotate very well. They're very guard heavy at driving the ball in. Indiana would help, and they would kick it. That cross-court pass is the killer for all defenses. Even Coach Knight's help side defense, I mean, the killer for us. That's why ball pressure is so important when you've got a guy trapped on one side of the court. You can't leave him open, because if he's able to reverse the ball and swing pass it all the way across and skip past it, that's a killer for the defense. You can't get back, and they're going to have wide open looks. And that's kind of what happened a few times tonight. And that's a lot of that's ball pressure. A lot of that is just allowing guys a little bit too much room, and they were able to make those passes. That's what resulted in some of the open looks.
Mark said we're going to need Justin Smith. He's going to be a big part of their success this year, him and Davis together. Absolutely. You saw what happened last year when Indiana beat Michigan State twice. Well, one of those was because Justin Smith was out of his mind in that game he had. But that's what can happen, and what can happen when he plays well, because he's got a lot of parts around him that's been playing well pretty consistently so far in these 6 games they've played.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super critical. I'm probably mega critical on Justin Smith more than anyone else on the team, because I think his ability is huge and his upside is gigantic. And so I probably pick on him more and sound more negative about him than I probably should at a lot of times. But they are definitely going to need him. It's a terrific point you make. I mean, I don't want to sound like I would rather there be an Indiana team without Justin Smith. I just want him to play, a good Justin Smith and a rebounding-minded Justin Smith makes Indiana the best Indiana they can be, not a scoring Justin Smith. And the scoring will come, it'll come off of offensive rebounds, it'll come off of putbacks, and it'll come off of him running the floor and getting his man in bad positions. And he's a guy that should shoot, he's a guy that should shoot 6 to 8 free throws a game pretty darn easily. And he's not he's worried more about shooting 3-pointers, in my opinion. That's kind of why I pick on him. And I just wish he would play to his strengths a lot more than playing to what he likes to do.
Well, in 32 minutes, I mentioned this stat line a minute ago, 3 points, but you have a bad night shooting. That's okay. I understand that he was 1 of 6. That's not a big issue. But when you're having a bad night shooting, you can't have a bad night rebounding too. And, I mean, it's like, what did you accomplish out there in 32 minutes, getting 3 rebounds and 3 points? It just – and you're not – and 1 personal foul.
Do we have season statistics? Do you have that anymore?
I can access them, but I don't know if I can.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we'll go over it on the daily show. Let's go over, but let's figure out what Justin Smith's shooting from the 3-point line for the year, and I'm just going to bet you it's under 25%, and that is considering I think he had 1 game he was 2 for 2, but I bet he's pretty darn close to 25% or less. And in that being the case, why is he shooting any 3-pointers? And if he shoots 1 every 3 games. Fine, you're just put in that position
like
to check
Race
it out.
Thompson
Exactly.
He was wide open, and they almost dared him to shoot the ball, and he did, and he hit it.
And the shot clock was down to roughly 10 at that point. It isn't like he shot it in the first 5 seconds of the shot clock.
And he didn't take another shot, another 3-point shot the rest of his time in there.
Yeah,
but he was wide open, so he had to shoot that.
Yeah. Justin Smith, puts himself in a position where, he wants to be a shooter and he wants to be a scorer, and that's not when Indiana's at their best and when he's out there shooting shots.
Kelly, lots of B-Town people watching now. Love it. Yeah, us too. I appreciate you guys. We appreciate all you.
Sure as heck do, especially this late. 11:20 at night.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. It's a late game. Tim says, did you see Trace Jackson Davis almost thunderous dunk?
Yeah.
The miss. Yeah, the miss was awesome. He meant that, man. I was talking about that with Todd when it happened. I'm like, dude, you got to love the effort, because he tried to throw that tomahawk down.
Yeah.
And he drew the foul.
I'm telling you,
he went after that.
Is he not kind of Karl Malone athletic, where he's not a Justin Smith 48-inch vertical, but his up is gigantic.
But he has more. He doesn't have the vertical, but he's going out trying to do things without it.
It's powerful. I mean,
yes.
He is a powerful freshman.
It's confident.
It is, and he doesn't very often seem like he's out of control. That
was impressive to me. He really missed it. It's not as good as the missed Oladipo dunk from a couple of years ago. That is still,
but that's different. That's a high riser type guy. This is a guy who's 6'10", and like I said, that's why to me he's a little bit Karl Malone-ish, where he's big and physical and broad shouldered and just always seems to kind of be under control and sneaky athletic.
Mark, I don't know what you're saying there, trance. I'm not sure, but have to resend that one into us. But that confidence that he has in only 6 games as a collegian, wow, that is impressive. I understand what you said earlier, Josh. He does look good. He probably could go absolutely at the end of this season if he wanted to, because they see the talent that's there. That's what those guys were drafting people on is potential, and he's got a ton of it. But I think he's smart enough to know that, hey, I want to get another year of college under my belt, maybe 2, but at least 1, and grow. And he's having fun anyway. You can tell.
Yeah. It's 6 games into it. It's hard to speculate on any of that. And if he, we'll see when the Big Ten comes around. That's when the game is a little bit different. That's when the game slows down, and you're not going to be putting up the kind of numbers that they're putting up right now because you're not going to score 80 and 90 points in a ball game. You're going to score more in the 70, 75 point range. And so everybody's numbers will go down a little bit when it comes to that. And I just hope his rebounding numbers stay up, because if he leads the Big Ten in rebounding, Indiana is going to be in a pretty darn good position.
The Truth is one of my favorite people that joins us here on. He doesn't say a lot, but what he says is he gets to the point. 6-0.
Yeah.
6-0. There's a lot of teams that can't say that, Robert. You're exactly right. Michigan State can't say that. Hell, they've got 2 losses already on the season. Yep. Wisconsin can't say that. Kentucky can't say that.
Hey, I'm going to tell you the truth, Robert. They're going to be 7-0 after Saturday.
You got that.
Then we'll see where we go from there.
Then we're going to see what Florida State does when they come in here. That's going to be an interesting game. But Indiana is looking like they're getting to where they did not have a complete game yet. I don't think we've seen them play a complete game yet.
We definitely didn't tonight.
And I don't know how fair it is, because we didn't see Rob Finney. I'm not sure why he didn't play. He was in street clothes or in sweats or whatever, didn't play. So, and you've got Devontae Green, your main man, who's running the engine. He's not playing. He's not starting. He's not starting the second half. He's finishing the games, but he's still getting his sea legs under him, I guess. But that's going to have to quickly get to the point. You can't do that against Florida State or UConn. You got to have all the bullets in the chamber.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I agree with you or not.
I don't disagree.
I don't really care.
I disagree with me on the show.
It's not that I disagree. It's more that I don't care whether he starts or not. Like,
I don't care if he starts.
His minutes are there.
I don't care if he starts.
Will his minutes go up? For sure. No doubt about it.
He's probably going to play the 30, 31.
Yeah, it's going to be in the 26 to 32 minute range just about every ball game, and there's going to be probably 3 to 4 guys that are in that range, and then there's going to be a whole bunch of guys between like 8 and 15 minutes, and that's what it's going to come down to. And obviously you want to work your way into being one of those 26 to 32 minute guys, and that's Devontae will be one of those guys that's there, and he's working himself there. He's getting there, and I'm sure he's getting a little bit healthier and a little bit stronger every game.
Mark says Trace Jackson-Davis to me already seems like he's playing like a junior. I don't know what year he's playing like, but he's damn sure not playing like a 6-game freshman.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's not, for sure.
Alan Smith, 18 of 19. All I found quick, 21.9% from threes. 18 of 19.
Yeah, Smith is
so there you go. Thanks, Alan. Yeah. That's right, exactly what you were talking about.
I mean, look.
But this is something we talked about last year. It drove me nuts. I'm like, why would he ever be out there shooting a 3 unless it's a situation like race tonight when you're wide open and they're dragging off of you, daring you to shoot it. Okay, but they did that a lot last year. They did dare him to shoot it.
Here's something I can tell you would have happened a long time ago. Is he would have been set down on the video, and every 3-point attempt that he's taken this year, they would have gone through frame by frame looking at that, showing what other shot selection there could have been that would have been a better shot selection than 21.9%. And that's pretty much going to be every other option that there is. And so eventually a guy's either going to learn that he's not supposed to take that shot, or eventually he's not going to have the opportunity to learn that he's not supposed to take that shot, and he's going to be sitting on the sideline.
Alan points out 6-0, only the 4th time in a decade for Indiana. I'm not sure that's good or how good that is. You should always be 6-0 unless you're playing in the Maui
Classic or whatever.
Unless you get drawn.
Bluebird in the house. What's up, Bluebird?
Kelly says, any thoughts about the upcoming game in Indianapolis with Notre Dame? That's a great question. We haven't talked about them. Notre Dame has not played all that well so far this season.
I'll tell you the game that Indiana needs to mark down right now. I think they'll win Florida State, definitely, because it's at home. And that's my feeling on that one.
The UConn Truth agrees with you. The Truth, Robert says FSU 67, IU 78.
Yeah.
Man, if he says it, write it down.
Watch the UConn game. UConn in Madison Square Garden. The UConn is legit. They're good. Danny Hurley has that team playing great. They're super confident. That's going to be a game that Indiana will have to play like they did in the first half tonight to come away with a victory in that one.
Josh giving us a report on Finney. I got there late, so I didn't get to talk about it, but said something going on still with his ribs. He had that abdominal strain that he was dealing with earlier that's still causing him a problem. Looks like he got hit in the face too, but should be back by midweek in regards to Rob Finney. But man, injuries, gosh, start the season off, it's never good. Of course, better now than at the end of the season, but it's hard to get get the team going, get in the rhythm when you're getting Devontae back, and he's almost there, but Rob Fennessy's sitting on the bench. It's going to be very interesting what that offense is going to look like when you have Fennessy, Devontae Green, and Al Durham in there at the same time with a Trace Jackson Davis.
Yeah, I mean, but here's
going to be exciting.
Look at it big picture wise, and we would all agree that these first 7 ball games, if that's the time I need somebody to sit out and rest to get healthy, that's the time I want them to, because we all know, that schedule in December starts to get pretty darn rough pretty quickly, and so if this is the time they need to sit out, I'll take them being healthy and then working around figuring out how to play together versus guys nursing injuries all along through, even heading into the conference play. So, if that's what they feel they need to do, which obviously they do, trust me, these kids don't want to sit out, and no one wants to be sitting over there in street clothes during a game. And that's the time, if you're ever going to suck it up, you want to get over there during, game time and play. You might try to sit out a few practices during the week, but I mean, I've heard guys maybe try to do that, but they definitely are not going to volunteer to sit out a game if there's any opportunity to play.
Mark says, I like how they're utilizing the inside game. Davis is smart enough. If he doesn't have the shot, he kicks it out. He lets the game come to him. He's very solid.
We were worried about you, Bill. I was worried about Bill.
I know. I saw him jump on finally. We're worried, bro.
Worried about Bill. He's driving home. Way to be safe.
Tim says, I know it doesn't mean much, but the polls are not being friendly to IU. You have to see. There's no reason to be.
Who cares about
They played
the polls?
They did not play well last year, and a lot of times the early season polls are based on last season.
And people are looking at the strength of schedule right now and saying, look, they haven't done anything we didn't expect them to do. So, there's not really any reason to worry about that. Hey, in the month of December, if they win 3/4 of their games in the month of December, they'll be ranked, and that's all you got to worry about.
Florida State, you beat UConn, they'll be ranked.
They
just have to win those 2 games.
For sure.
And the Florida State game, they should win because it's a home game. But that UConn game, like you said, that's going to be tough.
It'll be a tough
Number one, it's going to be an away game basically because UConn is going to be a home game for them.
Yep, and it'll be a hyped up situation. I mean, since you're a kid, you've seen games going on at Madison Square Garden. It's everyone's basketball dream to play a game at Madison Square Garden. It's awesome. I mean, it's cool. Locker rooms are crap. Like, that place is a complete joke. But it's not what you would expect it to be. At least the locker room we had wasn't. But it's a cool place. It's a cool arena. It's a very savvy crowd. I mean, they understand good basketball there. It's kind of like you would expect an Indiana crowd to be. And there's always a great Indiana contingent of fans there. It's always fun because there's a big group of red that shows up in that place, and it's pretty awesome. But based on location alone, it's going to be a home game for UConn. And everyone's going to root against Indiana that's not wearing red.
Absolutely. And I don't know that Indiana's played all that well in Madison Square Garden in the last few times they've been there. I know they got upset by Rutgers in the Big Ten tournament a couple of years ago. They get beat by, was it Louisville that beat them up there last? But they haven't had a great run up there here of late, it seems. But it's something they got to get over.
Quit living in the past.
No, I'm just saying.
Quit living in the past.
But it's something that they have to. It's a great education early because you're going to have to go on the road. The Big Ten, plenty, but other places. Well, that's good. That's good training to me for the tournament, for the end of the year. Those kind of places, those kind of environments, raucous crowd.
Those big arenas like that. I don't. For some reason, me and I really felt like the guys on our team. We loved playing in those big arenas. It was just, I felt like you could always shoot better in those, and I don't know. I just like that big and. This is always a little bit something different when you see Jim Nance and Billy Packer back in the day and Dick Vitale and those guys when they're doing the games. It's just something a little bit different. And
the man with a kiss.
You score a bucket and you run down the court, and you got Raftery. He doesn't generally do it. You get Jim Nance like winking at you as you're going down the court and things like that. It's just that little bit extra cool.
That is awesome. Bill chiming in.
All right.
Possibly the best half they've played this year in the first half. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
Followed by the worst half. Was it the worst half? I don't know about that.
It was a really bad 8 minutes.
I think it looked worse because how good the first half was.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, it wasn't the worst half they played. The first 8 minutes was pretty ugly. But, I mean, it wasn't the worst half that they played. Guess I can't think of a worse one off the bat, so maybe you're right.
Well, there's only been 5 games to choose from, so
that's 10 halves.
It may be.
It could be. I don't know. I mean, but overall, hey, everybody keeps kind of saying it, and we keep going back to it and agreeing with it. They're 6-0, and tonight's win was a good win. Like, this was a good win. That's a team that was capable of beating you if you didn't play well, and overall, Indiana played well.
Robert says we will play in April. Well, Robert, if they continue to do this,
April would be the Final Four.
It's probably stretched
April
out
would be the Final Four.
I know what he's. I know what he's.
I like
talking
it.
about anyway.
I like it, Robert.
But
wait a minute. See the truth?
Talking about
the
yes.
truth says that.
Yes.
The truth says that.
That's what.
Woo. The
Write
truth
it down.
says. If the truth says it.
That's he's talking about making the NCAA tournament. If they play like what we're seeing, they will. But let's hold off judgment until
play
they
late
play
March.
Florida State.
Let's just root for late March right now.
Let's get through December. By the time we get through December, we're going to have a very good understanding of what this team is capable of and where they are as far as consistency.
We should
know
those
two halves together.
Yeah, we should know at that point whether we're going to be talking about hopefully making the tournament or what kind of seed are we going to be playing for in the tournament. And I think going into January, we'll have a much, much better idea.
Seen a couple people talking about Kelly's one of my IU football needs a win against Purdue Saturday. Yogi's is the place to cheer on the Hoosiers.
Bingo.
That's right, because we're going to be here. Are we going to be here?
We are going to be here.
We're going to be here. So, we doing a watch party?
We're thinking about having a watch party.
We're thinking about having a watch party.
Would anybody want to come?
Because we have the game that's at 4 o'clock. The IU basketball game's at 4 o'clock on Saturday. And, of course, we'll be in here to do the post-game show at 6. But we're thinking about just coming here, making a day of it, and doing a watch party, watch the Purdue game, watch Indiana beat Purdue, get their 8th win of the season here at Yogi's. Let's do that. That just sounds like a party, Kelly. So make sure you bring all your friends, and we'll do that. So
yeah, let's plan on it. Give us some feedback. Let us know if anybody show up for that.
Richard said, seemed like Louisiana Tech doubled the post from the weak side from the start of the game, and they got away from it after a while. What do you think that was their game plan at the start? I did see them doing that. I thought they did some of that in the second half because it was helping them force some turnovers and put Indiana some positions they didn't really want to be in.
It was definitely the game plan. I mean, they were trying to double team the ball in the post. Now, the second half, it seemed like they switched the defenses up a little bit more, and they were trying to flip back and forth between zone. They started the second half out in full court pressure. They tried a couple different things, I think, in the ball game, so it may have seemed like they totally went away from it, but I don't think overall they did. I think that was a game plan when they were playing strict man-to-man half-court defense, and it went in the post, especially if Brunk or Trace Jackson Davis got it, they were double-teaming it.
Hey, Dennis, how are you? Ryan says, if everybody's still healthy, we can make a run. They can. We don't know how good this team can be.
Postpone that conversation for 1 month.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't know how good this team can be right now. It's too early. But one thing about playing, even though the schedule's been a little soft, that's okay. How important is that to Trace Jackson Davis' development of letting him do what he's doing right now and get that confidence that he had when he tried to throw that dunk down?
Look,
that still is a big. I'm like, wow.
I think the coaching staff. First of all, they probably don't even listen to it, but I think the coaching staff would take the criticism of the easy schedule for the opportunity to work Trace Jackson Davis exactly into where he is right now. And I mean, can you imagine the kid doesn't have insanely high confidence going right now?
I knew that when he threw that dunk down.
Right. And that's a different Trace Jackson Davis than I think would have been in game one. And so you give him the opportunity to do that versus, like Michigan State started the year out playing Kentucky and playing a very, very difficult game. And, they're already in Maui playing against Virginia Tech. And yes, we would all love to have, Indiana playing the best schedule in the country. For this basketball team and for the development of them early in the season, I think the coaching staff will take the criticism of a too easy schedule in order to work those younger guys into where they are right now.
Mark says the free throw shooting will win them games that they lost last year, a much more complete team this year compared to last. Absolutely. There was many times that it lost them games last year, not being able to shoot. And I'm kind of surprised they've been shooting the free throws consistently. I think there was one game they were off, but they've been shooting in that 70% range, which is good enough. But you'd like to see 80, but that may be too much.
If they get to 80, they'll probably be leaving the country or up there in the top 5. But you'll take a 75% team free throw percentage all year long.
Especially when you're getting to the line as much as they are.
For sure, which is a focal point. We know we've heard the coaching staff talk about it. We know we've heard the players talk about it in press conferences. So, yeah, without a doubt, I think it's a focus, and I think that they're doing a good job converting when they get there.
Ryan wants to know about is the easy schedule going to hurt them in the Big Ten. The schedule's going to get tougher, first of all, and before they open Big Ten play. So they'll get a taste of that. You've got a Notre Dame team that, again, is not what they have been, but you got Florida State, UConn, and then they've got some early Big Ten games. It's probably a good way to break in. It's not like you have to play Michigan State right off or Ohio State.
You got to go
Maryland.
up to Wisconsin, and Wisconsin, they got beat tonight. Who'd they lose to tonight? I can't remember who.
I don't remember
Richmond.
Oh, the Spiders.
They lost to Richmond.
Right.
But, I mean, that Wisconsin is a team that they can beat anyone on a given night. And with the style of play that they have, if they're executing and they're making shots, they can beat anyone. So, that's not going to be an easy game no matter what. All the Big Ten games are going to be tough. I mean, you watch them. Nebraska looks kind of horrible right now, and that's going to be a tough game when you have to go to Nebraska. So, all the Big Ten games will be different, and every one of them they'll have to take one game at a time, and you can't overlook any of them. I don't care what their record is. They're all going to want to beat Indiana, and Big Ten will be a different animal.
And Florida State is going to give them
it'll be the first test of that. Yeah, bigger bodies, faster players. They're well coached. They have a ton of confidence. They played well. They had a great season last year. They go to Duke and they go play in those arenas. They're not going to be intimidated by coming into Assembly Hall, and it'll be a battle.
I know playing tougher competition is what you need to get better, but in this part, what he's doing, you talked about working Trace Jackson Davis into what he's doing. How much more important is confidence going as the season progresses?
Yeah, it's gigantic. I mean, it's unmeasurable what it can do for certain players, and it can be a difference maker in whether a guy wins Big Ten Freshman of the Year or Big Ten Player of the Year or whatever. I mean, it can be a gigantic difference maker, and right now I think this schedule has worked out. One thing that I don't know, I assume most people know it, but I'm not sure everyone knows it, is you don't develop these schedules in like September. I mean, these are done years in advance, and so Indiana, Dusty May is a former Indiana tie for the Hoosier program, and he was at Louisiana Tech, and I'm probably pretty sure he had something to do with this game being scheduled several years ago before he and Mike White moved on to Florida, and now Dusty's at Florida Atlantic and as the head coach, and I'm sure there was some tie to that being done there. They didn't set this game back in September, just a couple of months ago. I mean, these are done years in advance, so it's kind of hard to determine who's going to be what. But yes, you look at the teams that have come in here, and it was set up as an easy schedule, no doubt about it. And it may have been done before Archie ever even got here. So, I don't know that he has a ton to do with that part of the scheduling.
No, well, somewhat, because it's in his contract about playing those Ken Palm teams that are over 300, like Tom Crean used to like to schedule.
Yeah.
That he gets dinged for doing that. So there's some to that. But yeah, like you said, a lot of it's set in advance.
Next year they'll go to Maui and they'll play that early in the year.
Going to Maui?
Of course we are. We should have a watch party in Maui. Who wants to go to Maui? Who wants to go to Maui?
Come on, everybody! We're going to Maui.
But we won't be having this conversation next year because they'll play one really good team. We know that, depending on win or lose out there.
And the funny thing is that tournament is. It doesn't matter who the hell you play. It's like you better be ready because every one of those teams come
There's
out.
There's only one
swinging.
layup game out there. Chaminade's the only layup team you can possibly play.
That's
out
Ralph
there.
Sampson.
Yeah,
about that.
I understand that. That happened one time before.
No, it happened twice. They beat somebody. They beat somebody else. Amazing. Aren't they an NAIA team?
I don't even have a
Division
clue.
III or something. It's crazy.
I don't know, but I mean that if there's 8 teams out there, I mean there's 7 really good teams that are out there. So it's just one of those situations that. That we won't be talking about schedule next year, no doubt about it. And that's a good thing to look at. I'm telling you, it probably factors into it. But Trace Jackson Davis will want to play in the Maui Classic, and it's just one of those things as a college basketball player you want to do. So hopefully, that's an enticement to stay for year 2. And I think he's a 2-year guy no matter what anyway. So it's just. But it sure doesn't hurt that that's in his second year.
Absolutely. Hey, Greg, how are you? There's a great question here, Ryan. If Romeo would have stayed, what would this team be like now?
Not as good.
I know answer.
The team overall, I mean, if you looked at them on paper, they would be more talented. You could say that. I don't think they would play well together. And there's
the team as individuals would be more talented.
Yes, on paper it would look like they'd have higher rated players. But as a team, I don't think that they would play better. And there is no ball stopper on this team. There's nobody when it gets in their hands. Everybody, all four of the other players are standing there looking at him, waiting for him to make a play, and that happened immeasurably last year when Romeo touched the ball. I mean, it was in his hands until it went up. And I'm not saying Romeo's a selfish player. That's the way Romeo has been expected to play since he was 5 years old. And, I don't know why you would expect him to be any different when he got to IU. And it's a recruit you wanted to have, you had to have, and was great to have. I am insanely.
The fans loved him.
You're thankful that Romeo chose Indiana. Do I think this team would be better with Romeo on it? No, I don't.
Tim points out Florida State beat Florida but got beat by Pittsburgh. All of their other games were easy wins. And they got to win. I mean, a win over Florida. Florida's a good team, a team that had a lot of respect coming into the season. But early season, you don't know we don't know what that really means right now. But we will know when Indiana plays them on where Indiana is.
What we will know is that they will be bigger and stronger and faster than any of the teams they've played so far. And just being in the conference they're in, they're going to, they're just going to be more athletic. They're going to be bigger and stronger. And Indiana's going to have to execute a little bit better and set a little bit better screens and block out a little bit better and do everything just a little bit better because this will be a bigger, more athletic team.
Kelly's in for Maui. Tim said that you're buying everybody tickets to Maui. Oh, I'm buying the plane tickets, man.
Ooh.
Bill says, if I am in Maui next year, do I get ISB credentials to get in the games? Sorry, Bill. I love you, but unless we can make you a producer maybe, but we don't know about that. Ryan, how are you, sir? Let's see. All right.
We'll have a watch party. We don't even have to go to the games. We'll just watch it from the beach.
The beach.
We will Bill Walton the heck out of that tournament.
Have a luau.
We'll watch that thing.
We'll have Bill Walton there.
I will get us a big screen in the lobby or in the ballroom of the hotel, and we will watch the game.
Beach, man, on the beach.
No. We'll watch it we'll have plenty of beach time. Trust me. We need time to get these bodies into beach mode. Like we got some work to do.
I got to start yesterday.
We got some work to do.
Holy crap. I didn't even think about that. I'd have to wear one of those onesies to hide it. Dude was in what was that?
He was in a Fireball onesie. We had a Fireball onesie at the game tonight.
Fireball onesie.
Man, that was
bad. That was here.
That was tough.
That was here at Yogi.
Oh, it was. Yeah, he was on his way to the game, though. He was part of the Bluebird group.
Speaking of which, you're listening to After the Game with Todd Leary. We're coming to you live from Yogi's Bar and Grill here in Bloomington. If you haven't been, you're cutting yourself short, man. Food, awesome. The environment, awesome.
Entertainment,
decor,
awesome.
You got a lot of signatures up here. I don't know who this is.
That's fake.
This is the only one I don't know. I've got to ask, but John Leskowski's above us. Archie signed, Todd signed, Brian Evans, Sage Steele.
Saturday watch party. Let's everybody be here at noon on Saturday to watch the Hoosier football game and then the basketball game follows.
Yeah, we're going to be here at Yogi's to watch the Indiana beat Purdue to get their 8th win of the football season. And then we've got the basketball game. We've got the post-game show here. So big game on Saturday. You've got nothing to do. It's Thanksgiving weekend. You're looking for an excuse to get out of the house.
Ate all day on Thursday. You shopped all day on Friday. You come hang out at Yogi's on Saturday. We got your weekend schedule.
Oh, man. Ryan's throwing the hard questions out tonight, man. Give me your Final Four right now. Man, I don't even have a Final Four right now.
Nope.
I'll pick Duke just because it's Duke, but other than that, it's way too early because look at last year on who made the Final Four, and it's who gets hot, it's who gets better, it's the teams that continually get better as the season goes by, and maybe they have a tough loss here and there to toughen them up. They get hit in Michigan State, getting beat by Indiana last year. Who the hell would have picked that? I didn't. Even after they beat them the first time, I would have bet you anything you wanted to that they couldn't get it done the second time, and they did, but that's the thing about college basketball, why it's the greatest sport. You just never know.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Final Four, I couldn't even – I mean, I would just name Blue Bloods, I'm sure. Probably throw Virginia in there.
Bill said I needed to start in 2000. I looked damn good in 2000. What are you talking about?
No, Bill, you're on the money there, Jack.
Mark says, I feel like when we are healthy, our bench is as deep as anyone in the country.
That's a good point.
What do you think? Yeah, I mean, yeah, when they're healthy, because there's guys on the floor right now that are playing
coming off that bench. Yep.
That are because the guys that are not healthy. Finney not getting to play tonight. Devontae's minutes is cut a little short, but yeah, there's guys, and then you've got Race Thompson, who didn't do a ton tonight, but he didn't do a ton to hurt himself tonight either. It's not like he hurt
Deron
himself.
Davis made it up and down the floor 6 times tonight without getting hurt or winded.
Did he score?
Nope.
Did
4
not.
minutes. He had a foul. That's it.
Deron Davis, I'm not sure his game is.
It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain that.
Yeah, I'm like, boy, I'm just. He hasn't played a lot. I mean, I guess he's been struggling with the injuries that he's always struggling with, whether it's feet or hamstrings or whatever. But it's like, man, come on, it's 3 years now. Or is it 4 years now?
7.
8 years. 7 years. That's a different movie.
I mean, he's got a 47-year-old man's game right now, and that's kind of how he plays when he's out there. I mean, he looks like he hurts, and I'm not making fun of him. I truly am not. I just it's just one of those situations that everybody cheers for him. He's worked hard over his career. He just for a team's MO right now that wants to push the ball up and down the court, I just don't know that he fits into that.
Richard liked the Bill Waltoning the heck out of that. Broadcasting the beats as the Yogi's able to accommodate other 21 kids.
Does anyone annoy you more than Bill Walton doing a game? Anyone?
Did that. No, he does not bother me at all. I think he's hilarious. I like it because he knows exactly what he's doing.
You better watch it.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
We're on the verge of breaking up.
Nope.
We're on the verge of breaking up.
He knows exactly what he's doing, and he just gets a kick out of it. He
knows what he's doing. That guy smoked more weed, and it's killed more brain cells. This dude has no idea what he's doing.
I love it. Him and Dave Pash.
The only thing he remembers from the past is baskets that he scored in games that he plays in, because that's all he ever talks about.
I think
he's the most annoying basketball commentator. How that guy is on TV makes no sense.
All right, here's another football question from Ryan. What bowl do you see the football team going to?
Music City. If I could sing, I would sing it.
Well, that's he's not far off. The Music City Bowl is a very real possibility, and I'll tell you why. They have an agreement with the Gator Bowl. The Gator Bowl is where I thought Indiana was going to land, no, without doubt. To anything different, they would have had to have beaten Michigan, and then they probably would have gotten to the Outback Bowl and possibly the Citrus Bowl, because there are teams that cannot play in some of these bowls because they played in them recently. Wisconsin, Iowa.
Move that comment. Let me see what Bill has said down there. What is he saying? Go ahead with your comment.
But so the Gator Bowl has been all the Florida kids on this team, they love having that, and Tampa would be a great, and the Outback Bowl may be still in play. I don't know with that loss to Michigan if it is or not. It's going to see how things break out. But I know that Nashville wants Indiana.
That was a 2-word answer.
Because
Music
of proximity.
City.
I know, but I'm telling you why.
He said, what bowl? Music City. End of the answer.
Somebody give me where's the microphone?
We're breaking. You lost me with this whole Bill Walton love affair you've got going on.
I didn't say love affair, but he cracks me up. Everybody, Kelly Martin's on the Todd team. Who isn't on the Todd team?
Exactly.
That's why I like to be different.
Let's just pick on.
I wear the black hat in this family.
Let's pick on Bill for a minute. Did you read Bill's comments?
No, I did not. What did he say?
Bill compared Deron Davis to Robbie Hummel. I'm trying to make any correlation whatsoever.
Bill, he's gonna
possibly come up with.
He's gonna slap your hand for that one.
Bill, I love you, Bill, but I don't know where in the world we could possibly compare Robbie Hummel and Deron Davis. Anybody?
No.
Anything?
Robert's asking if we've heard any new names for 2020 class. I don't know that there's going to be at this stage. I don't. I think that they.
I've got an inside tip. It's going to be a grad transfer, but I can't tell you who it is. But I know exactly.
You don't know who it is.
I know exactly who it's going to be. It's a grad transfer, and you're going to love him.
You look like you're telling the truth.
I can't tell you, but it's going to be a grad transfer, and you're going to love it.
I don't know how you.
And he wasn't a top 100. I mean, you're not going to love the fact that he wasn't rated number 1 overall. But Indiana fans are going to love it. Grad transfer.
UK and an IU Music City Bowl. Man.
UK or Tennessee, that's a good call.
No, UK. Yeah, UK against Indiana in Nashville.
UK or Tennessee against Indiana, one of those two in the Music City Bowl.
Yeah, if the Gator Bowl doesn't get Tennessee, but yeah, that would be. I don't know, man. That would be tough. That'd be plenty. That's like playing a road game against Tennessee in Nashville.
Lexington to Nashville is probably not a lot different than Knoxville to
We'll
Nashville.
see, Tim, Outback Bowl. Yeah, it's a little shaky on that.
Bill, don't try to throw injuries as your comparison to Robbie Hummel. That does not explain anything. I could name any player from Iowa. They've got injuries. I mean, name Jess Settles, who played there for 13 years. Or
well, guys, we appreciate everybody tuning in, watching After the Game with Todd Leary, live from Yogi's Bar and Grill here in Bloomington. We want to thank Nathan Finney, Chris Martin, and the whole Finney Hospitality Group for another great, wonderful time. As always, the Finney Group has multiple restaurants.
Every restaurant has the most amazing food. This is the best for basketball and sports entertainment. This is awesome.
That's because you're here.
Okay, don't try to kiss it up to me because you prove that you love Bill Walton. Boy, I can't. Hey, anyone wants to hear the tail end of what this is going to sound like, tune in tomorrow because I'm going to blast him all day tomorrow for 2 solid hours on this Bill Walton love affair.
Guess who has the mute button?
Kiss fest.
Guess who has the mute button?
Gosh, you disgust me.
We appreciate everybody joining us tonight. What did Kelly say? The anticipation. Oh, I don't. Ryan, Dan Dockages have to be right up there with Bill Walton. Okay.
Grad transfer, Tim.
Do you believe, look on Todd's face? Yeah.
Grad transfer, Tim.
You guys are killing me.
Okay.
No one wants to spend time in Kentucky, Tennessee for sure.
What's the date? 25th, November 25th. Remember that date, Tim. Remember I told you.
Hey, guys, make sure you tune in tomorrow for the Daily Show, Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. You can catch us live at 9 a.m. to 11. You can find us on indianasportsbeat.com. If you're in the Evansville area, so some of the other southern Indiana towns where we're on air. Soon on Bloomington, by the way. Looking forward to that. But you can always catch us there. We appreciate you. And we'll be back here after the game, of course. Jake points out correctly, he has the mute button.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Yes, he does. Both of them. We'll be back here on Saturday. The watch party, IU taking on Purdue for their 8th win of the football season. And then hopefully we'll get closer to seeing what bowl game they might end up going to. Then, of course, Indiana playing on the hardwood again at 4 o'clock. We're here after the game again. Here at Yogi's after the game with Todd Leary as soon as that game gets over on Saturday as well. So we appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for everybody listening and being here with us, especially on this late night. You guys are incredible. We love you.
Oh, man, yeah, it's unbelievable. Thanks, everybody. I'm exhausted. I don't know what you people are still doing awake. You're all retired, apparently.
I'm trying to get out of there. Richard, thank you.
See you, Bob Dzerzhinsky.
Jennifer's still with us. Happy Thanksgiving to be Purdue.
You, Bobby.
Walton's coming. Thank you, Jennifer. We appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving. That's right. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We won't see you until afterwards, so eat lots of turkey, get fat and sassy, and have fun. Say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night.
You didn't say
good night,
Gracie.
Mr. Walton.
Thanks, you guys. We appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow. And until then, I will see you on the radio. Good night.